Thank you for joining me, and today's video is going to be an update on my weight loss journey and keeping the weight off, as well as losing fat and building muscle. So this video is about all the logistics that go with my eating plan that I just published. And we know diet is key, probably number one to losing fat and building muscle. So I shared my complete, I'll put that up there, my complete exact meal plan that I have been following this journey to lose, about 12 pounds, give or take. I have fluctuated a little bit up and down, but that's, I think, an accurate amount of weight that I've actually lost. And I do believe I have gained muscle as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. And again, those were my exact meals. And I hope you've enjoyed them. I'm still eating that exact meal plan. And again, now I'm going to fill you in on all the other stuff, because there's a lot of other stuff that I'm doing and that we should be doing. So we are going to go over that. So let's get started. So of course, still eating the same exact meal plan, but I also want to share that the beauty of those meals, which I feel why they're working so well for me, is that they are pretty, you kind of have a basic, but you can build on them and change them, which I think is key so we don't get sick of them, which I am number one person to, I can vouch for that, because there's been many things I started eating, and I think we're all get sick of things, but we're also creatures of habit. So I think that, just changing something up a little bit can be okay. So for instance, the breakfast that I have been, the concoction, the seed bowl, chia pudding seed bowl, I'm not sure what to call it. But that is an example, you can change up, I shared in the video, you can change up the toppings, you can use different flavors of yogurt on top, you can use either different types of nut butter, you can change up the nut or whatever you want to sprinkle on it. So you can really make them different, and I do that all the time. I kind of tend to stick to the one that I shared in the video, but I may change it up with some almond butter instead of peanut butter, or a different nut. I shared that. I rotate a different nut each week. So I'll buy a thing of nuts, say walnuts, almonds, cashews, and then that nut will last me through the week, because I do use them sparingly. We have discussed that before, that nuts, you do have to kind of watch. Just because if you are trying to lose weight, then we want to be in a small deficit. So nuts you can get carried away with. So I've shared that, I just sprinkle a little bit, but just changing the nut and maybe the flavor of yogurt. Sometimes I use strawberry yogurt, or maybe vanilla, or, whatever you want. Of course, we're watching that sugar content. So I have been stuck on that vanilla one, the stevia one that I use. But I wanted to share that. So you can really change it up and not to keep it too boring. And then as well as the smoothie. That's why I love a smoothie, because you can totally change it every day if you want it. You want chocolate, you want peanut butter, you want fruit, strawberry, blueberry. It's endless. So, and I feel like with the smoothie, as long as you stick to the concept of adding that protein, which we should try and shoot for 35 to 40 grams per meal. So as long as you get that, it's fine. You can really change it up with even your protein content, what you're using for protein. Maybe you change it up with a protein powder that has some different flavor in it. Maybe you use cottage cheese for your base protein rather than a protein powder, or I use the kefir in my recipes. So I really wanted to share that. You really can change this meal plan and really adapt it, and so you don't get sick of it. So I love it. And then same with the dinner. I wanted to share that. The dinner, same thing. As long as you grasp that concept of building the meal with protein being your prioritizing protein, and then just building on that. Of course, picking your veggies. Those can always change. The protein can change. It is a little more difficult if you're limited and only eating certain things, like no meat, like myself, or, depending. So that can get tricky, but you can change it up. And then a different vegetable every night if you can. But let's face it, we end up using what we have. So, if I have broccoli and I have a lot of broccoli, then I might have broccoli 2 or 3 nights a week. And same with the fish. I do fish, and I'll alternate that because I feel like, oh no, I can't eat tuna every night because of the mercury. So then I'll interchange that with sardines, or I'll interchange that with salmon. So you can really change it up. So I want to share that. I hope that will give you some more tips on the meal plan, but it's working for me. And I also actually should have started this video with, remember, we are all individuals and we are all different, but sharing this menopause journey, I feel like we have a lot of similarities. But remember, we can't 100% compare. And maybe my meal plan doesn't work for you. So I don't want to put it out there that, oh yeah, eat this and everything's great. And that's why I'm sharing this video, because I'm doing a lot more than just eating those meals. So that's what this video is about. And I of course am guilty of comparing because we're humans and this is what we do, but we really can't compare. But I feel like the things we need in this journey is unique to menopause. Also, though, it depends on where you are. If you're perimenopause, if you're not even, pre-menopause, if you're postmenopausal. So your needs might be a little bit different. And then also, if you're sedentary and not working out at all, then maybe you need less calories in order to lose weight. Maybe your deficit looks different than mine. We can't really compare, and I don't want to sell here that if you eat exactly this, you are going to do exactly, or your body's going to do exactly what my body did. So let's just make that clear. And I also want to put out there that this is not just one thing. This is like a whole approach to losing weight in menopause. Every factor for us has changed. So it's a completely different ballgame than it was in our 30s. Even in our 40s, I think it does change even more. So we have to kind of it's not just one thing. And that would be so easy if it was just one thing. We just, I'm going to do this and we're good. And that's just not the case anymore. I believe we could get away with that in our 20s and our 30s, right? We could just, okay, I'm just not going to eat this and I'm good, So we have to take that into consideration, and we are a little more complex now, okay? So I'm going to say that's kind of number one. I wanted to discuss about the meals, but and it's about the comparing, and this might not be the exact, right ratio of, eating and calories and for you than as me, okay? We are different. Even though we're on similar journeys, our menopause is never going to be the same. Okay, we know this. So I would say, just knowing that number one, I'm going to kind of this is probably about 10, 11 things that I have learned and that I'm doing on this journey, the weight loss journey. Okay, so that was number one about just, this is a whole approach. It's not just one thing. Number two, I have had to find patience, okay? I have noticed for sure that my body is not responding like it did, okay? It is like, and I made the mistake of doing and I've shared this before, that I'll try and do all these different things at the same time. Dumb, because you don't know what's working. Okay, was it this or was it that with this? So I have learned if I would rewind and do this journey all over again, I would try and do one thing at a time. So I have learned, but what I did learn is the patience part is things our bodies take way longer, or my body is taking way longer to respond to any change or anything I do. So that we have to keep in mind, and I've had to really try things for way longer than I did now to really see if it's making a difference. So bodies are taking longer to respond, okay, especially due pertaining to weight loss. Number 3, I feel like fasting is something that has worked for me, and I have shared, okay, that fasting has been a great tool. Now, I do a small fast every day, but I feel, and what I've learned is that that's just kind of normal eating. I think we all should be eating not late at night, and kind of following our circadian rhythm. So like when it's night, dark outside, we shouldn't be eating, okay? So and as soon as the sun comes up, then we are meant to eat. So I have been following that. So I kind of do intermittent fasting, but that's just, I think, natural. And I have always practiced that. I have stomach issues, so I never really ate late at night. So I feel like that is important to just not eat late. And I found that fasting works better for me if I eat earlier and then cut myself off earlier in the evening. That has worked better. I don't know if that's because of menopause, and I also just think that's a natural rhythm cycle that we should be following as humans. So that's my 2 cents on there, but I am still putting in longer fast, and I do try and do that around my cycle, which, and we know I follow, not exact, but what Mindy Pell's, the Fast Like a Girl, fasting around our cycle. I think that is key. And I think that's also what worked for me. I think I was fasting too much before, expecting results, and I wasn't getting them. And maybe even it was sabotaging my results. So now I'm just throwing in those longer fasts, just like once a month around my cycle. And I shared about I have the IUD, so it's tricky to track my cycle. I felt like I was on it, like I had tracked my cycle, and I was keeping track and doing my fasting around, and now I've gotten off again. So who knows? I'm declining more in estrogen, and maybe I'm even closer. I'm almost 51, and that is the average age, and I may be thinking that either my period has completely disappeared, because the IUD will do that, but my IUD hadn't completely had my period disappear. But now I'm wondering if I'm a little bit closer, because I haven't been able to recognize as much of a pattern of a cycle for me. Okay, so, but still doing that. I also shared that a couple things also that I feel that I no longer can do is oatmeal. Remember, I made that concoction, the breakfast that I eat, I have shared in my meal plan. I had to take the oats out. I used to put oats in that, and it's an overnight type of, meal that like the overnights are. So I used to do it exactly that same way, not all those ingredients, but I used to put the oatmeal. I did find that I think the oatmeal is too many carbs. Okay, and that's also my thinking this journey. I feel like I have had to keep my carbs lower. I do add more carbs in around, tracking, following my cycle, but I do think that I have to limit those. So oatmeal every day, I don't think was working for me. So I shared that I cut that out. I still have cut that. I'm still not adding that in, and I'm still following somewhat of a low carb. I'll cycle in some sweet potatoes. I also would often do rice. I haven't been eating the rice, and I do feel like that's helping. So no oatmeal, no rice, but I do cycle in some sweet potatoes, and I will do maybe like a couple corn tortillas if I cycle in at that right time, but basically still cycling in the carbs, not, eating them consistently throughout the month. And then I'm also still focusing on, I have not been snacking between my exact meal plan. So you saw my exact meal plan. That is my exact meal plan. I'm not eating anything else. The only thing that I am adding in occasionally for a sweet treat is dark chocolate. And I didn't even really share that or count that, but I wanted to share it. But I eat a very dark chocolate. I usually eat 90% and above, and it usually only has a couple grams of sugar. So I am still doing that, and I think that's good for us. It's got all these, excellent benefits for us, especially right now. It's got a good source of magnesium. It's got those antioxidants, tons of benefits. Okay, so I still am doing the dark chocolate occasionally, but I have to also watch the snacking in between. So I'm not snacking. I do my, breakfast, then I wait until it's time for my smoothie, and I try not to eat anything in between. If I am having a tough time and I need something, then I make sure it's just a piece of protein. Just a piece of protein, like a piece of string cheese or a shot of a kefir, the probiotics, or a couple bites of yogurt. So I just make sure it's only protein, but I keep that at minimal. I feel like snacking in between, I just don't need it. Okay. So also, I have really been focusing on my NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And I shared that in a short because I have also been trying to break up my non-activity. So like walking, I don't even count my walking as exercise. So I want to talk about that. So I have been walking, and as well, working on that NEAT, which is that non-activity. That is like keeping my body more active, because studies show that we don't even realize it. We start to decline in our NEAT. We're not as busy anymore. Maybe we don't have, little kids running around that we're chasing after and picking up and carrying. And our lives are maybe starting to not be as active. And this just kind of creeps up on you. Your dynamics change. So I've been really focusing on the NEAT. And I've been breaking up my walk. So I've been walking. I've always walked. And I did get off walking a little bit. And I did feel like that was not good. And so I have added that walking back in. And also, I'm not counting it as my exercise. It's a non-negotiable. And I walk most every day. And I've been trying to split it up into 2 sessions. So maybe I'll walk in the afternoon for just maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20. And then maybe later on after dinner, or my biggest meal, which is usually dinner, then I'll walk after dinner for another 20 minutes. Okay. Rather than walking just one 30, 40-minute walk, I feel like breaking it up. Remember, because that's going to increase that NEAT, which we need that non-activity. Just fidgeting and walking around and being just busy, increasing that activity. I think that is so important, and that has made a difference in this whole weight loss journey. So try and add in that walking, and don't count it as your workout, but count it as that just keeping active. Okay, so that has made a big thing. And I have been religiously, like I said, every day. Sometimes if I can't, I know we're busy. There are some of us that are still busy, full-time jobs. I get it. So some of us are not struggling with that NEAT. But if you're sedentary and you sit at a desk, or, it also has changed for you. And I just think naturally after 50, it's going to change. So keep that in mind. And just sitting, we're sitting more. So just be aware of that. I think that's helped in this journey. And let's see. Okay, so then I think that's about 5. Where are we at? So then also we need to, let's see, I want to say that was probably 6, 7. And then also the focusing on the protein. That has been key. I just feel like if I really focus on the protein, then everything else falls in place and is right as far as like the amounts, calories, and all the other macronutrients. So I have really just been focusing on protein. Still struggling. It's difficult to get. I'm not getting what they have been saying in the space, like this 1 gram per pound of protein. Still struggle to even come to probably about 100, 110, maybe 120. So it's a struggle. And remember, I'm doing 30 to 40 grams per sitting. I do 3 basically meals. I feel like we need to focus on that protein, especially if you are losing, or if you're looking to lose weight and build muscle. We need that excess protein. And all that talk in the space about, we're losing muscle mass now. Now we're fighting against that loss of muscle mass. So we've just got to do everything we can to slow that down and build muscle. So again, that goes down to the protein thing, because if you're not trying to build muscle, which you should be, but if you're not, then you probably don't need that much protein. But I think we all need more protein as we age, because if we're just not breaking it down, or it's not, bioavailable as it was, we don't break it down or use it as efficiently. So we need extra protein regardless of if you want to like build, because you're losing. So we want to make sure we slow that loss way down. So focus on protein, and that's what I have found has really, and again, the protein, if it's a really high protein food, most likely it's going to be a whole food, and it's going to be non-processed food, right? Unless you get into that trap of using a lot of these packaged protein bars. I do not use those. I do use a protein powder. I'm even leery of those because they have so much stuff in them, kind of junk in them. But just be careful and very mindful of your protein sources. And I have added in animal protein because I feel like at this time we need it. We need good quality protein, and we can get that through dairy. Now, if you're non-dairy, I believe we can do it too. It's a little more difficult, but you can get a lot of protein. So just be mindful of that, and that has also been a big thing that I have been focusing on. Okay, so I think we're probably at 8, guys, and I totally lost count. I also want to say, remember, I talk about giving into the cravings because, you're going to have those cravings. So I just have been finding alternatives. So something that I like, just make something similar. I shared my dessert, which I used the cottage cheese mixed with a sweetened yogurt, but like a stevia. And then I put berries in it and some shredded coconut, mix that all together, even some fresh fruit cut up. That to me feels, like I'm indulging, and it feels like a sweet treat. So you need to find a place for those, because I feel like if you go too long without that stuff, then you're more likely to binge and go crazy when you do get something. So I have learned that find alternatives. I've also found that making like a coffee drink, even when I'm craving something sweet, or some sort of like put whipped cream in it, so drinks, I feel like if I feel like I want to splurge, it still makes me feel like I'm having a treat, but I can kind of control, the craziness of the calories. Okay, so that's something to do. Also, I've shared in the past that there's been no alcohol. I am not drinking alcohol. Occasionally, maybe I would have a drink socially, but I don't think alcohol mixes with menopause. Okay, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because I'm not drinking, but I also do use the edibles, cannabis edibles. So I find that the ones I use are mostly CBD. So they just have a very small content of this THC, and I have found these useful. They are useful for sleep. They can give me that same, like you'd think a glass of wine does, but I feel like it's better. They might help relax you. Maybe if you're, anxiety. So I feel like they have been helpful for me. So I don't want to be a hypocrite, like, oh yeah, I don't drink alcohol, but then I take some gummies. So, but I usually only do it probably once a week, maybe at the most, maybe twice a week, but depending on how my sleep is. So they have been beneficial. And the studies show out there that THC itself is kind of that same concept. It's not really good for sleep, because the same thing with alcohol is you think you pass out and you think you slept great, but the alcohol prohibits you from going through those sleep cycle or into that deep REM. So they say you feel like you got sleep, but it kind of tricks you. And I believe they're also saying that the THC that is also kind of has that same thing. So studies show it's not your best bet for sleep, but the CBD is actually showing promise in help for sleep. So there's something that I wanted to share. Okay, and I think that's going to wrap it up. I want to also talk about an exercise. I am still currently weightlifting. I believe weightlifting has been key, okay? I have always lifted weights, so it's always been a part of my life. But if you don't have it a part of your life, you need to make it a part of your life, especially going through this journey of menopause and just aging, because we need to battle that muscle loss. So, and it doesn't have to be, I say just pick up heavy things. Just walk around and pick up things. Make it a challenge, I feel like if you don't just like the traditional weight training, you can just pick up heavy stuff, put it up over your head, walk around with something in one hand and then switch and walk around with something, maybe a heavy kettlebell or a bag of dog food, a big one, something awkward. Like I feel like just lifting that stuff and, like I said, putting it over your head, press it up a couple times, put it down on the ground, pick it up, stand up. I have these workouts on my channel. So I have a couple of those that I've shared that are great things that if you just don't like the traditional weight training, so check those out. Also, we need to just remember that, again, we're working against that loss. So we need that muscle. And I believe for myself, the more muscle I have, I'm more efficient at burning calories. And I can eat a little bit more and not worry about, eating too many calories because my body needs them. So this is a great trick. So lift those heavy weights. I've got a lot of stuff on my channel to do that. Okay, so I want to make sure everyone knows that's important. And find an exercise that you enjoy. That's key. You have to find an exercise that you enjoy that you will stick to because consistency is key. And if you don't find something that you enjoy to do, you might do it for a while and go do great, and then you'll stop doing it. So just find something. I enjoy weight training, but you can do weight training in different ways. So just, you got to really get creative. But if walking is your key, fine. And you can, put something heavy in a backpack, this whole rucking thing. My husband's a soldier, you guys know that, and they ruck in the military. They've always rucked in the military because they have to have that endurance and be able to carry heavy SH on their shoulder and, or people. So anyways, just picking up heavy things, if you want to add some weight to your walk, that can be really effective. So that's a little pointer there. And yeah, I think that is pretty much key. I think I've added everything. I don't want to take too much more of your precious time. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you so much for joining me. I will keep you posted and updated. If you have any questions, please, I'd love to see your comment and talk to you. And yeah, thank you so much. All my love. I'll be back soon.